Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of the You Must Be Bored podcast, broadcasting on Labor Day, September 1st, 2025. How's everybody doing out there? This is Devin, of course, and I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. No barbecue today, although I did go to my parents' last night and have some barbecue there, so I checked that off my list. Actually, I checked quite a few things off the list that I'm feeling pretty good about. I don't have the dogs with me. Last week, I was dog sitting for a friend of mine, and I got to tell you, I miss those buddies not being here right now. Two little weenie dogs, the cutest, sweetest. Well, one's the sweetest. The other one is sweet too. He's really sweet once he's comfortable with you, but if he's not comfortable with you, then he's gonna bite the shit out of you, which is a problem. He's very territorial and very aggressive, but fortunately he's a small weenie dog, so the threat to a human, I guess, the threat can only go so high. It's not like he's a giant 200-pound pit bull or anything like that. So even with that, though, he's a cute guy. I love both of them, and they were just great housemates to have around. My kitties did not like them. They don't like them, and they were not a fan that they were back here again. So they're happy right now that they have the house back fully for themselves. But for that whole week, they just stayed upstairs while the dogs were downstairs. I have a baby gate at the bottom of my stairs, so the dogs can't run up without supervision or anything like that. You know, weenie dogs, they're notorious for having back problems and whatnot, and I didn't want to even chance the idea of one of those dogs chasing a cat upstairs and hurting themselves somehow. So the gate is always there, it's always closed. For the small little baby dog, she's like maybe 3 at this point, she can run up those stairs fine, but for the older, bigger dog, I pick him up and carry him up the stairs. So I had to do a whole lot of that last week. But it was great. I loved having those dogs here. And honestly, it kind of makes me think it's not going to happen. But really, it kind of makes me think I should probably get a dog. I know my cats don't want that at all. Like, I'm sure they just heard me say that into the mic here right now, and their ears probably perked up in fear. But I'm a dog person. And I always have been. It's really kind of happenstance I ended up with 2 cats. In 2022, I think it was 2022, I ended up getting COVID. My entire house got COVID. I was renting a house with a few people up north, and one caught COVID, and then everybody got COVID. And I didn't want to hang out in a house where everybody was sick and coughing on one another. So a friend of mine suggested, hey, I have a house that nobody's living in right now because she usually rents it out. If you want to stay there and recover from COVID in isolation, you can. I was like, great, I'm going to do that because we're all on top of each other over here, and I'm not a fan of it. So I went into that house, and she was like, I'm fostering a couple of kitties if you want some therapy cats. I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome, actually. Bring them over. So she did. And they were very young at the time, like 4 or 5 months maybe. Sisters, and they just played with each other and loved playing with each other while I was sitting on the couch like dying basically. But it was adorable. They were scared of me at first, and then eventually they got used to me being around, and I'd be lying in bed and they would jump up on the bed and like perch up on they would loaf up on me the way that a cat loafs, and I would just be sitting there like, you guys know that you're applying pressure to my chest right now when it's a little bit harder for me to breathe than usual. But you know what? You don't know what COVID is. You're just a cat. I'll cut you some slack. After I recovered and was about to head back to my house, my friend was there, and she was fielding a call from the animal rescue place saying that there was somebody that was interested in the black cat Suki. But they weren't interested in, they were interested in Galbi, the calico, but they weren't interested in her sister, Suki, who's the black cat. And she was telling me this, and she was saying, are you sure you don't want to adopt them? And I was watching the kitties play with each other. They loved each other so much that the idea that they were going to get split up kind of, it made me feel bad. I didn't want to see that happening. So at that point I was like, okay, fine. I'll adopt both of them just so I can keep them together because they really do love each other and I don't want them to get split up. So that's how I ended up as a dog person with two cats. And I guess it's been about 3 years since then. And aside from Suki's skin issue that we're still trying to tackle, it's worked out really well. I love these little ladies, and I think they like me. I think they probably tolerate me. You can never really get a good gauge on a cat. Like I know those dogs love me because as soon as I come home, they're if I go to the store, even if I step out for 5 minutes or whatever to check the mail and move the trash can or whatever. As soon as I walk back up to the door, they're there, they're jumping, they're going crazy, they're squeaking and yelping, and I walk in and they're jumping all over me, they're running around in circles. They get so fucking excited anytime I come around. And then they jump up on me, they cuddle up with me, they're licking my face. Like I could tell when a dog likes me. With a cat, you never really are for certain. Even when they walk up and start like brushing up against you and all of that, when Galby comes and sits next to me and she cuddles up and curls up next to me, I kind of get a sense, okay, she doesn't hate me. Like she isn't actively plotting my demise, but how far into likability does that extend? So I'm still trying to figure that part out, but yeah, having those dogs was definitely nice, but they're not here anymore. So there is that. But a lot of other stuff happened last week too. Again, this is kind of like the last one I recorded where I don't really have anything solid to like talk about. Aside from the fact, so I mean, there were so many other things. There was a Richie Torres appearance on the Adam Friedland show that was psychotic. That kind of popped off a bit. There was some other stuff that happened that just kind of escapes my brain right now as I'm struggling to speak here. But college football came back. For those that don't know, I do live in Austin, Texas, and fortunately or unfortunately, my college football team, when I choose to follow college football, is the Texas Longhorns. And in their debut this weekend, their season debut, they were fielding a new starting quarterback, one Arch Manning of the prestigious Manning lineage of football quarterback. I guess the dynasties, do you want to call them that? I mean, they both, Eli and Peyton, have 2 Super Bowls under their belt, and they're both Hall of Famers. So I guess you can call them. And of course, their father, Archie, who I don't think. Oh shit! Sorry, playing with dice and I dropped him. Let me double check this. I don't think Archie Manning. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. Maybe he is. I mean, he played such a long time ago that I think possibly. No, he's a college football Hall of Famer, but he isn't an NFL Hall of Famer. Okay, that sounds accurate. But this, so Arch Manning is the son not of Peyton Manning, and not of Eli Manning, but of, I guess, Cooper Manning. Some Manning I've never heard of before. There was some other Manning. I thought his name was Nate. I used to think his name was Nate, but then I'm also thinking of, I think I'm confusing the Manning brothers with the Hemsworth, because I think that. Wait, is there even a Nate? Why is Nate coming? All right, hold on. I have to correct myself here. I have to, because I know it's Luke, Chris, and who is the fucking other? Oh, dude, I just Googled Hemsworth. I just Googled Hemsworth brothers, and it only shows Liam and Luke. Okay, Luke. Okay. Hold on. Okay, I was reading this results wrong. It says Chris Hemsworth, and then under his name, it has Liam and Luke. Okay, fair enough. I thought they were just like completely disregarding a whole ass brother. But no, Luke Hemsworth. Why was I thinking Nate? Nate is, I don't know why. I guess Nate is just like a stand-in word, a stand-in name for I guess a generic unknown entity. All right, hold on. Let me see. Manning family. Archie played collegiately for Ole Miss and professionally for the Saints, the Houston Oilers, and the Minnesota Vikings. Two-time Pro Bowl selection, a first-team All-American, and inductee into the College Hall of Fame. Second generation. Archie's three sons played football to varying degrees. Cooper, yes. Cooper played football in high school as a wide receiver and committed to play at his father's alma mater, Ole Miss, but was forced to stop playing after being diagnosed with spinal stenosis while still in high school. Damn, that's rough. Then, of course, Peyton, and then Eli. And then third generation, we have Arch. The oldest son of Cooper is a collegiate QB for Texas Longhorns after playing in a brief spot duty as a true freshman in 2023. He made his first start in 2024 as a redshirt freshman, which was also the first season for Texas being a member of the SEC, moving from the Big 12, making him a third generation of Mannings to play quarterback for the SEC. So yeah, that's where Arch Manning comes from. He is Cooper Manning's kid. So, or at least one of Cooper Manning's kids. Going into the season, and even last season and the season before, he's been treated kind of like football pseudo-royalty because of the Manning name. And everybody has had high expectations for him because of that. I mean, there were even people, I may have been one of them, who was calling for him to supplant Sam Ellinger. Was it Sam Ellinger? Quinn Ewers. I mean, Sam Ellinger, Quinn Ewers, potato. But there were people that were calling for him to supplant Quinn Ewers. And it didn't happen, but Quinn Ewers no longer at the school. He was drafted. I don't know where he was drafted to even, but he got drafted into the NFL. And now the reins are fully Arch Manning. So everybody was anticipating the debut of Arch Manning. And it's pretty rough for this to be like his first. I guess he had a start in 2024, but this is like him taking over the team. And, you know, this is fully his thing. For whatever reason, Texas scheduled their season opener to be against Ohio State. Number 8 Ohio State. I don't know what they are now. They're probably ranked above that now because Texas came in ranked number 1. They're definitely not going to be ranked number 1 now. But they went up against a pretty tough OSU team, and generally speaking, not bad because their defense did hold OSU to like 14. You could definitely win a football game if you hold your opponents to 14 points, especially in college. But that wasn't the big story. The thing that popped off on Twitter, and I feel so bad that I missed this game because it actually was a lot of fun. Twitter's been a lot of fun the past couple days. I'll talk about the other reason why Twitter's been fun, but everybody just started shitting all over Arch Manning, and I had no idea why. I was like, wait, what the fuck? There's a Texas game. And I started looking up highlights and box scores and whatnot. And apparently, like, the box score, not great, but it doesn't tell the whole picture. Apparently, Arch Manning really shit the bed performance-wise. And once I started seeing those highlight or low-light reels from the game, I could see why. Like, people were posting videos of him, his sidearm throwing motion next to Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, and it's shocking how similar the two look. Like, he literally throws like Uncle Rico. Like, he was just, it wasn't like one or two passes that, you know, he would do a desperate sidearm. One of the more famous clips, infamous clips from this game, he throws a sidearm to a wide open receiver who like jumps to try to catch it, but the ball was like way high, it was high and behind him. So like there was really no shot of him catching it. And you're watching this like, why did he, it's not like he was in the process of being sacked and he then sidearming it was the only way for him to throw it. He got hit after he threw the ball, but if he still had plenty of space to step into the throw and you throw it properly, overhand it, it wasn't just that. There were multiple passes of his that were thrown in a weird sidearm kind of manner. And a lot of them were way inaccurate too. And just some silly decision making, throwing into like triple coverage and shit. people were beating the crap out of him, beating the crap out of him. And I saw someone post about, you know, I guess in response to the level of hype that he had before the season started, like the difference between how people were treating him and how people were treating Shedeur Sanders. And I have to make one little note on that. Yes, he was more hyped than Shedeur Sanders, but granted, Deion Sanders is a cornerback and not a quarterback, so there is something of like a lineage of that particular position that, especially when you've got dual Super Bowl winning quarterback brothers as your uncles coming into this, people are a little bit more, I guess, susceptible to the notion of lineage translating through the generational line, as opposed to, oh, my dad was a running back, so I'm going to be an awesome linebacker, or my dad was a defensive end, so I'm going to be an incredible tight end. It's a little bit different in that respect. I guess if Shedeur Sanders was a cornerback, then maybe that would be different. The other thing to note is that a lot of what Shedeur Sanders gets smoke for, I guess, can be conceived as like his attitude or whatever. And that's always kind of a minefield for black athletes to navigate. You can have white athletes that have attitudes and whatnot, and people will praise it. They'll be like, he's got a chip on his shoulder, and that's a good thing for whatever reason. He plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. You want your players, all that shit. But then, like, if you have a black guy that exhibits that same sort of behavior, they talk about how he's cocky, he's arrogant, is entitled, and all of that sort of stuff. And especially, again, when you're coming from football lineage, football royalty, the idea of entitlement, and especially, hot button word nowadays, nepotism, that always comes up and kind of factors into it. So I think that Shedeur does get a little extra heat for that reason. And it doesn't help that Deion Sanders himself probably writes his son checks that he has no ability to cash too, certainly before the draft process at least. So there is that factor. But the other thing counter to that I have to point out is this past week, or the past couple days rather, people have been fucking letting into Arch Manning in a way that I have never seen them let into Shedeur Sanders. It was brutal. The memes that were coming out were, not just the Napoleon Dynamite comparisons, but also, I forget what the famous movie that always gets memed whenever someone's talking about a shitty quarterback. I'm gonna have to look that up because I always forget. The Duff. I guess that's the name of the movie, The Duff. Why is this loading so fucking slow? I hate this goddamn browser. I need to change it. I keep saying that. And then
I saw you in the green room. I said, good to meet you, Robbie. Mm-hmm. And we have met before. We had actually met before today, as you're saying.
Yeah, you emceed a golf tournament at Lakeside Golf Club.
We play in the Lost
5-week shoot. It's my first lead role in a movie. I don't have any real power. Mm-hmm. When it went viral, the director texted me, and he's like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "I told you."
That's right.
I told you.
Wait, hold on.
No, it's messed up. It's called The Duff, and it's a teen comedy. Mm-hmm. And the guy who posted it had no business watching ABC Family when it was on. Uh-huh. When we shot the movie, mm-hmm. I fought really hard. We got to set, and there was a big, giant diffusion set up.
Yes.
Right where I'm supposed to throw a football.
Explain what a diffusion is to those who don't know.
We're shooting in Atlanta. It's the middle of the summer, and the sun is beating down on you.
Yes.
So the cinematographer sets up a giant diffusion, which is like
a screen, right?
A giant white screen.
Right. To keep the sun from bashing into you. Right.
Coming into you.
Right.
So I get to my mark, and right where I'm supposed to throw a football is a giant diffusion. So I'm like, where am I supposed to throw this football? And they're like, well, just throw it to somebody standing beside the camera. I'm like, so I'm throwing the football to someone 3 feet in front of me.
Right.
And this is just a PA who's standing beside the camera, and I don't want to rifle of football at somebody a few feet from me.
With
and
diffusion equipment all around,
well,
right?
I just ended up making this stupid, dinky dunk pass.
Throwing motion.
I fought the director on it.
You fought it. You fought the director on it.
Yeah, I was like, just make some space for me. And they're like, we don't have time for this, which is true. It's a 5-week shoot. It's my first lead role in a movie. I don't have any real power. When it went viral, the director texted me and he's like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I told you this would happen. And he was like, I can go on Twitter. I'm like, don't. It's fine. I'm like, just hopefully it'll die one day. And then it went way more viral. And I had friends hitting me up and they're like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, shut up. This is not my fault.
I got in touch with them immediately.
So yeah, at least that guy has an excuse. Like it was a function. I guess the movie's called The Duff. It was a function of him being told he does like a little 3-step drop before he has to throw it. But you could tell that he's pulling the throw because he's not really throwing it to anyone. But that's exactly what Arch Manning looked like throwing that ball. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know why they had him play. This is why these top tier schools should always schedule a cupcake opponent for week 1 because they don't have preseason the way the NFL does. So you need that cupcake opponent to kind of iron out the kinks and figure out what works and what doesn't, and get your quarterback to make his mistakes right now in a manner that isn't going to cost you a game. Because you would have been able to still probably run all over Louisiana Monroe in a way that you're not going to be able to do against Ohio State. So there is that. I had a lot of fun with that on Twitter, though, and a lot of the memes were cracking me up. And I just made me feel real FOMO for not having watched that game. I did watch some of Bama and FSU, and oh man, a Nick Saban-less Bama is in trouble. It's weird to see that team look so fucking meager, because that's just not something I've been used to seeing in the last 20 years or so. The other thing that's been trending on Twitter, that I will proudly admit I've been getting a probably undue amount of joy and entertainment from, is the rampant amount of speculation about whether or not Donald Trump is dead or not. It came out, I want to say on maybe Friday, maybe Saturday, that nobody has seen or heard from Donald Trump since last Tuesday. He hadn't had any media appearances. He hadn't been talking to anybody. And the most that anyone had ever seen was him being hurriedly shuffled between the White House and his convoy. And people were starting to get suspicious. Like they were saying, why is this is a motherfucker who for the past 40 years of his life has been glued to any kind of television camera or microphone that was anywhere in the vicinity. And if he had something to say, he was going to say it. And even if he didn't have something to say, he was going to find something to say so he could say it, just to have something to say. Like, this is a guy that isn't known for being silent. So especially now that he is ostensibly, I mean, we don't know anymore, we'll have to see, but he's ostensibly the most powerful person on the planet, you'd want to understand what's happening, right? Like, why haven't we heard from him in a while? Like, what's going on? And right now, the Twitter is just rampant with speculation about that very thing. A lot of people, I think in recent days, the suspicion that he's been dead has dissipated, because that was the first thing that came out is, oh, he's secretly dead and they're trying to hide it. And the official, I think, Donald Trump Truth social account, and also I think the White House Twitter account, they've been posting things like Donald Trump is going to his Virginia golf course, and it just shows them shuffling him into the SUV, and nothing. The press isn't allowed anywhere near. They're not allowed to ask questions or anything. They're not allowed to get close enough to actually see the dude. They're not allowed at the golf course to see him play or anything like that. It's just he's going to the golf course, and then at some other point in time, he's back from the golf course, And it's like, okay, well, what's going on here? What the fuck is this? And they've done that several times now at this point. All the while, all of these rumors about Melania Trump was seen at Walter Reed Medical Center. It's like, okay, and Trump is seen with a lump over his eye or all this other weird shit. It's spawning an incredible level of, I guess, left of center conspiracy theories to the same degree that we've only ever really seen before from like the far right, which is fascinating. And I'm seeing a lot of people kind of jokingly, but I don't know how much of a joke it is. They're kind of responding like, "Oh, now we know why the Republicans made such a big deal out of Joe Biden's health, because this is kind of fun. Like it's kind of fun doing this." Which, yeah, there is an attitude about that. A lot of this is just stemming from the fact that people hate this motherfucker. They hate him and they want him to go away, and they don't care what that means, how that happens, or how that's accomplished, or how it's accomplished. And a lot of people are getting an incredible amount of schadenfreude out of what they deem is karma. Has karma come back? So Twitter is just, oops, hit the mic there. Twitter is just lit ablaze with all of this right now. And it is Labor Day. It's almost been 7 days since we last saw this guy. And there isn't really anything. There is no more clarity over this now than there was like a week ago. Whatever you think is happening it just depends on what crazy Twitter thread you happen to subscribe to. I've seen several at this point that kind of walk down, okay, this is what I think is happening. Let me see if I can find one of them. There was one here where it shows Donald Trump in his limo, and he looks so sad. Most of the pictures that they post of him, he's got that old man gaping mouth sort of thing going on, which Joe Biden had that too. But I don't think a lot of people realize Joe Biden also suffered from a stroke years ago. You know, I feel like, and a part of the conspiracy is also that Trump's not dead. He just suffered from, a series of strokes that have made it either difficult or impossible for him to communicate, which is why they aren't putting him out anywhere where he'd have to communicate. And even his Truth Social account is starting to talk in ways that is obviously not Donald Trump. It's not the way that he talks. It's not the way that he tweets or anything. So all of this is just creating an environment of just the most oh yeah, and that's right. I'm scrolling to try to find that thread, and I'm reminded that while this is happening, apparently Rudy Giuliani was in a car crash that did incredible amounts of damage to him, but the official statement for the crash makes no sense. It says on the evening of August 30th, 2025 in New Hampshire, Mayor Giuliani was involved in a motor vehicle accident. Okay. Prior to the incident, he was flagged down by a woman who was the victim of a domestic violence incident. What does that mean? He was flagged down. What was that? Was he out on patrol? Was Rudy Giuliani on a bike doing a patrol route? Mayor Giuliani immediately rendered assistance and contacted 911. What does that mean, rendered assistance? Did he fight someone? He remained on the scene until responding officers arrived to ensure her safety. Okay, and then following this, while traveling on the highway, Mayor Giuliani's... So this is one thing, all of that was just said in that official statement has nothing to do with the accident. Has nothing to do with the accident. We didn't need to know any of that. It's not relevant information. The relevant information is following this, while traveling on the highway, Mayor Giuliani's vehicle was struck from behind at a high speed. He was transported to a nearby trauma center where he was diagnosed with a fractured thoracic vertebrae, multiple lacerations and contusions, as well as injuries to his left arm and lower leg. That's the important part. All they need to say was he was driving down the highway and someone hit him. Someone rear-ended him pretty bad. The fact that they shoved this weird paragraph about him helping some domestic violence victim or some shit, That's suspicious to me. That makes me think, wait a second. What were you up to, Rudy Giuliani? What were you really up to? Why is there a woman involved in this all of a sudden? And domestic violence incident? Why is this pertinent information to what seems to be a completely disconnected rear ending on the highway? Why are you trying to tell us this? Is there some connection between you being on the highway, getting smashed into, and this woman? Did the person that rear-ended you, was that the person that was committing the domestic violence, or not? What's going on here? Why are you making sure we know that you were doing superhero shit before you were smashed into the hospital? So that happened too, and at a certain, I mean, what do you even say? Like, I mean, I saw this and I was like, did the angels of karma and vengeance get back from vacation and check their emails and were like, oh shit, we got a lot of catching up to do? Like, what's going on here? All of a sudden, all these motherfuckers are starting to fucking drop. Which shouldn't be surprising, I guess, in their case, because they're all pretty fucking old. I don't think I'm going to be able to find, I don't know, I thought I liked. You knew something was going to happen, though, when Trump, like a couple weeks ago, was talking about, like, I got to find a way. I got to find a way to get into heaven. I got to find a way to get into heaven. And it's like, find a way to get into heaven. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, first of all, you know that's not happening. But second of all, like, why the sudden panic about this now? If you were really concerned, you would have been panicked about this years ago. I don't think I'm going to be able to find this thread. It doesn't matter. If you wanted to find it, you could find it. It's just an incredible... Oh, here it is. Here it is, actually. From Adam Cochran, at Adam S. Cochran. More proof of Trump health cover-up. Trump leaves the White House again this morning. Mouth agape. Mouth agape. Not allowed to speak with reporters. Then it gets weirder. Like full-on AI gaslighting kind of weird. All right, go on down the thread. He once again, quote, goes golfing at his club. And at this point, like, I kind of feel, because they keep using this excuse as Trump leaving the White House to do things, they keep saying he's going golfing at his Virginia club. And to me, it's giving like the vibes of telling your dog you're going to the park when you're really taking him to the vet. Like, that's kind of how I'm viewing this Virginia golf course now. And maybe that's what they have to tell him to get him out of the White House. And reporters are confined to the tennis court area, not allowed to speak to Trump, and not allowed to seem him golfing, which they normally can. Next post. His team posts pictures with close friends and radio host John Fredericks. After days of outdated pictures, we finally get something that seems current. But something is off. So the outdated pictures thing, again, once people started asking questions about where's Trump, all of those official accounts started blasting out all these pictures and videos saying, hey, Trump is here. He's going golfing. He's doing this. But it was very easily debunked as, no, this video is actually from a year ago. Or, no, he golfed with John Gruden like 2 weeks ago and that sort of thing. So everything that they've been putting out to prove that he's been out and about and fine, is doing fine, have all been immediately disproven as being recent, which only poured fuel on the speculation fire. So that is also a part of this. His next post. Other than the weird staging, and by staging he's talking about this picture of Trump, he's standing next to, I guess, his friend. They're shoulder to shoulder, both doing thumbs up, and behind them there's like a staircase that's going up off screen, and it looks like there are two, I don't know if these are two workers at the country club or whatever, or if they're medical professionals, or they're wearing like light blue, they're wearing like light blue polos, or not polos, but button ups. the color that you would expect a nurse to wear. So I don't, and they're both eyeballing. They're behind. They're standing behind Trump and this dude, and they're both eyeballing Trump from behind with like serious scowls on their face. Like they're really concerned about whatever is happening here. So that's what he means by the weird staging. Other than the weird staging, we noticed that Trump's eyes are barely open, especially his right eye. This would be consistent with someone recovering from a minor stroke or larger TIA who is recovering physically but not fully well yet. Next post. But it's also odd for... wait, hold on, I read fucking this sentence up. But it's also an odd smile for Trump. Large, overly toothy, and uniform. The rare times he smiles with teeth, it's smaller and larger on one side. Wait, what? Smaller and larger on one side. Oh, okay. So he has pictures here too. And honestly, the picture of Trump smiling does look weird. It doesn't look like his smile. It looks kind of freaky, honestly, kind of scary. And then they show older pictures of him smiling, and it is a visibly different smile. Large, overly toothy, and uniform. The rare times he smiles with teeth, it's smaller and larger on one side. It's not this clenched, teeth-full smile. And his face doesn't push back that much when he does. Yeah, I guess I could see. It's hard to describe it in text. You just have to find this thread and look at it. And the next one. So then I thought, what about tools like FaceApp that use AI models to adjust a person's appearance? Since this isn't a press photo, we don't know it's not faced edits. Buddy, maybe you should try editing some of your tweets too, make it a little easier for us to read. Here's a sample of a Trump smile image run through FaceApp smile features on high settings. What do you notice? Well, it looks like it makes it teethier in the way that it appears in that first picture. So and then like he's got pictures of both Trump, an old Trump picture smiling, and this recent one, and he's got red circles all over it. So he's diving in on this shit. When we make the change, the app squishes the face to expand the smile. Crow's feet intensify. Lips furl in. Smile lines pull back. Eyes become more closed. Smile feels more intense, forced, unnatural. He's really going in on this FaceApp thing. So this guy is saying they're even using AI to make him seem not... Like they took maybe a recent picture, but then had to use an AI face filter thingy to make him try to look as normal as possible. Unlike an AI that fully generates images, a face editor like FaceApp is hard to programmatically detect. There is no hidden watermark or super obvious tells. The best method is changing the contract in Photoshop to look for odd noise. I think he means contrast. This guy was so fucking eager to get his conspiracy theory out. He was like, fuck spell check. And when we boost the contrast, you'll notice some. Oh god, this is a terrifying looking image. This is gonna haunt my dreams looking at this thing. God damn, I'm taking that off screen while I read this next part. No, I accidentally expanded it. I didn't want to do that. No, Jesus Christ. Oh, there were some fucking terrifying pictures in there. I don't want to see. Oh, this is a cursed thread. I think this is a cursed thread. Oh my God, what the fuck is going on here? Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't even know. Don't find this thread. Don't look for this thread. This is fucking awful. Hard to see with Twitter's compression, but the outline around Trump's face has pixelated noise, and so do his teeth, suggesting, although not proving, touch-up. Oh, man. Okay, I'm not looking at that shit anymore. This guy keeps going on. I guess he has like... Oh, we're almost done. We're almost at the end. If there's nothing wrong with the president, then why is not taking questions of the press? Why are they not allowed to see him golfing like usual? Why are we only getting controlled media releases? Why are all the press images inconsistent with what his team put out? We're on 7 days since he was last freely in front of the press. We'd expect a TIA or minor stroke victim to be able to walk and pose for a photo now, but perhaps still have some other small tells. But being nearing the point where they could pretend nothing happened. The press are not asking any hard questions. No, they like the Daily Beast actually posted a very annoying fucking article about this that I saw, where it was just full on trying to deny that something weird is happening for some reason. Weird for the Daily Beast. And it's likely by midweek we'll get some simple talking from the president sitting behind the Resolute desk, and they'll pretend everything is okay. The president is clearly not running the country. No, it's Stephen Miller who's running the country. I don't think that's any different than what it's always been, honestly. Oh my God, fucking terrifying picture. Terrifying picture. It's like the fucking Ring. All right, don't find that thread. But you get the idea. Like, that was just one. There are several conspiracy theory threads like that out and about, and that was just one of them. So, and nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Like, there has not been any definitive proof of, I guess not really proof of life, but proof of decent health. There hasn't been any definitive proof of decent health in recent days. So, and his Twitter or Truth Social account keeps continuously posting in ways that are very obviously not Trump. So I don't know how this is going to unfold. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, at some point, they're going to have to address what's going on. They're going to have to address what's going on. Oh, man. This has been crazy. This has been crazy. There's this photo of Trump walking out wearing a white USA hat that somebody, like, the photo itself was a little blurry, so this dude, quote unquote, enhanced the photo. And there is some creative liberty being taken with the enhancing of the photo, sure. But even in the blurry photo, he looks fucked up. People are speculating that the Trump that they've been putting out in front of the public to, like, go golfing or whatever isn't Trump. They think it's a body double. Some people are saying that, like, there's all sorts of, like, analytics analysis going on over, like, the folds of his skin on his forehead and what that means, and all these people diagnosing him with having strokes from over the internet. It's a wild time right now. You would think that just for the sake of general stability, these guys would come out and say something, anything. People caught on camera, motherfuckers throwing shit out of White House windows. Why is someone throwing objects out of the damn window at the White House? This makes zero sense under any normal circumstances. The media needs to get answers, even if just from a security perspective. What the hell is the Secret Service doing? Yeah, it just shows some dude throwing something out of, like, a second-story window at the White House. This was from a few days. This was actually, this tweet says 8 hours ago, but I saw it before then. I guess this guy is just reposting it. Oh, boy. Lord almighty. Then there's this guy.
DC, man, look. Hey, good morning, man. Hey, I'm just giving y'all an update of what's going on in Washington, DC, man. Look, it's Labor Day. I don't think I really remember, like, any type of Labor Day parade or anything, but getting to the point, they have the White House blocked off for blocks. Like, you can't even get within a 1 block radius of the White House. Once you come past the World War II Memorial, all the streets near the White House are blocked off. 1 block up, 1 block down, and then all the way across. So you can't even get close to the White House today. I did a quick look up on ChatGPT, and they didn't really say anything. So I don't know what's the reason for all the extra security near the White House. They already got the National Guard in town right now. So, you know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, they right here. You already got the National Guard, so I don't know what the extra police presence is about. Somebody let me know what's going on.
Oh yeah, so there was that that happening too. These next few days, these next few days could be the most fascinating few days in American history. I don't know. I guess Kennedy was the last president who died in office, and I don't think Trump is dead. I don't believe that conspiracy, but I do think that something happened to him that has made his ability to operate completely and totally annihilated. I don't think he can operate at even a baseline low level, which is concerning. I mean, today it was all about, in the news, it was all about Modi and Putin and Xi Jinping meeting together, and they're all shaking hands and high-fiving and slapping ass and having a great time, and coming up with new trade agreements and new immigration deals and all this sort of shit. Like, I guess apparently, and I have to verify this. Let me do a quick Google search to verify this, because I did hear this too, but there's so much shit going on out there that it's, if you don't actually look into anything you hear, then you should probably just take it as like not being accurate. So it looks like this was actually reported 3 days ago. India's Modi agrees with Japan's Ishiba to boost economic ties and cooperation. It was supposed to be an immigration component to this, but I don't know. That's what I don't think. They also agreed to increase exchanges of workers and students to 500,000 people in the coming 5 years. The two government hopes India's young workforce can help address labor shortages caused by Japan's aging and declining population. So yeah, that's what I needed the confirmation of. Yes. 500,000 immigrants from India to Japan in the coming 5 years, because Japan's population is aging. Their birth rate has plummeted. There's a significant need for medical. I mean, we have it here in America too. There's a significant need for medical labor in Japan as their population gets older. But there's a need for immigration in Japan in general, just because of the declining birth rates and the impact that has on an aging workforce. Interesting that they struck this deal, though. In light of I keep forgetting the name of the anti-immigration party, the Saitama Party or something like that. I'm sure that's going to give that lunatic party even more fuel. But yeah, all of that's happening on the world stage while Trump is being weekend at Bernie's back and forth to, I guess, maybe Walter Reed Medical. I don't know. There's this guy who is like, I'm a doctor, and let me tell you why he had a stroke. And it's like, okay, man, well, I'm sure you are a doctor, but you can't be making diagnostics on people remotely like this. You got to actually be able to like see the patient, run them through your test personally, or at least look at their reports, get his medical files, and go over whatever's reported in there. Like, we have entered, well, we've always been in this. In fact, wasn't that what the Terry Schiavo debacle of many years ago was all about? The idea that, what was his name? Who was the Senate Republican leader at the time, which I think was it Bill Frist? If I remember this name, I should be fucking beaten. I should not have this name in my memory. Oh my God. Am I actually right? Yep. Senate Majority Leader from 2003 to 2007, Bill Frist. He was a physician and a businessman, and also like a right-wing loon, as most Republicans are. He was the one that got into it was a pretty big situation where he diagnosed Terry Schiavo, who was this woman who was in a vegetative state in Florida, I believe. I can't believe I'm refreshing my memory on this situation. The Terry Schiavo case was a series of court legislative actions in the United States from 1998 to 2005 regarding the care of Teresa Marie Schiavo, a woman in an irreversible permanent vegetative state. Schiavo's husband and legal guardian argued that Schiavo would not have wanted a prolonged artificial life support without the prospect of recovery, and in 1998 he elected to remove her feeding tubes. Schiavo's parents disputed her husband's assertion and challenged Schiavo's medical diagnosis, arguing in favor of continuing artificial nutrition and hydration. The highly publicized and prolonged series of legal challenges presented by her parents, which ultimately involved the state and federal politicians up to the level of George W. Bush, then U.S. president, caused a 7-year delay until 2005 before Schiavo's feeding tube was ultimately removed. 7 years. God damn. So a part of that debate was Bill Frist diagnosing her as being, oh, she's fine. She's totally great. And then an incredible amount of backlash as a result of that. Republican Majority Leader and physician Bill Frist opposed the removal of her feeding tube and, in a speech delivered on the Senate floor, challenged the diagnosis of Schiavo's physicians of Schiavo being in a persistent vegetative state. Quote, I questioned it based on a review of video footage, which I spent an hour or so looking at last night in my office. After her death, the autopsy showed signs of long-term irreversible brain damage consistent with PVS. Frist defended his actions after the autopsy. Yeah, it was a big situation about that because, it's kind of unethical to do that. But it seems like that we've completely gone past the point of, hey, don't do that. And now everybody's doing it. Everybody is like, yeah, I'll diagnose you based off of like a 3-second 480p clip on YouTube. Yeah, why not? I'm a licensed doctor. Let's go. Let's do this. I think it's fine if any random schmuck wants to do it, sure. But for anyone that's actually a licensed and practicing physician, they should probably not do that. Should probably refrain from doing that. Oh boy. Oh yeah, the first thing that tipped all of this off was the pizza meter. If you're familiar with that, the idea that around Washington, D.C., particularly with respect to the Pentagon, whenever there's a big seismic world event happening, you can always determine when it's about to kick off or the degree of which the impact of this supposed event is having on our federal government by the number of pizza orders that are happening at a Domino's Pizza in or around the vicinity of the Pentagon. There's actually a Pentagon pizza tracker specifically for this. And I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday, it was popping off. People were like, oh shit, something's happening because the pizza tracker is off the charts. So that's how a lot of people first caught wind of this, which is honestly, that's the perfect state. That's the perfect metaphor for the state of this country. Is we get all of our news delivered by unhealthy food apps. All of our most important news items of the day. Oh man. So those two things, and there was a lot of other stuff. Yeah, I mean, those were basically the two things that have been occupying a lot of my thought for the past few days. It'll be interesting to see. And this is also like there's a lot of stuff happening in the background, like the impending potential destruction of the AI bubble and the incredible impact that could have on our economy as well. That's something that's going on. I think I mentioned the Richie Torres thing, which really popped off. There was a article written in Wired about a organization that was in the shadows funding some left of center content creators, and that caused a huge controversy because it was undisclosed, and it sounds like stipulations within those contracts specifically demanded that those connections not be disclosed, like don't tell anyone about us sort of thing, which calls into question a lot of the I guess can't really call these guys journalists, can't really call influencers journalists, but at least the ethical integrity of a lot of these guys who were purporting to express their beliefs. A lot of people seem to think that these guys were paid to like have specific beliefs or policy ideas or whatever. And it's like, it's a manufacturer consent sort of thing. It's not that this organization, I forget its name, you'll have to find the Wired article. It's not like, well, actually, let me look it up. Let me look that up. Taylor Lorenz was the one who exposed this. And as a result, she's been getting dragged through the mud because, basically people don't like for their little grift to be exposed, basically. And the exposure of this has called into question a lot of the ethical integrity of these content creators. Some of them big, some of them not so big. I think the biggest content creator was probably David Pakman, who himself came out and both defended his involvement with the group, he claimed to debunk, but there was no real debunking of anything that Taylor Lorenz had said in her piece. Chorus. I guess the group was called Chorus. Oh, she has a video on her YouTube about it. Okay.
A powerful liberal dark money group is secretly funding some of the biggest Democratic influencers on the internet. And I got a hold of their contracts, payment terms, recordings of their meetings, pitch decks for the program, email and text messages between the creators discussing.
Okay, the group was called the 1630 Fund. Okay, it's called the 1630 Fund. 1630 Fund is a left of center lobbying advocacy organization founded in 2009. Okay, what about 2025 spending? The 1630 Fund provided funding to help launch the Chorus Creator Incubator Program. That's what that is. Okay, so they funded the Incubator Program, which was the program that these influencers were taking a part of, to pay Democratic leaning influencers between $250 a month to pay Democratic leading influencers between $250 a month to $8,000 per month, according to Taylor Lorenz and Wired. $250 a month? Is that even worth signing the contract? Is that even worth signing the contract for? Like, what kind of return do you expect to get from an influencer who you deem is only worth $250 a month? Like, that's basically like me. Like, the kind of numbers that I get is like, okay, $250 a month. Like, god damn, man, I would feel bad for that content creator, man. Especially if you find out that somebody else in that program was getting $8,000, which in and of itself, not. I guess that's fine. $8,000 is fine. A lot of the back and forth about this has been about, obviously after the 2024 election, there was a lot of consternation from liberals about finding a Joe Rogan of the left and all that stupid shit. And a lot of the defense of this is, well, the Republicans do this all the time. They constantly support right-wing propagandists in the form of like the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro's outfit, or you'll get, these groups that fund Charlie Kirk, or they fund this and that, and et cetera, et cetera. So like, if we want to compete on equal terms, then we have to do this as well. But this is not exactly a one-to-one thing. Well, first of all, liberals and people on the left have, rightly so, criticized all of those content creators on the right for doing that. Call them disingenuous all the time. They call them grifters, chasing a bag, etc., etc. Like, that's always been like a point of contention. So the idea that you would be outed as doing the same thing and you wouldn't face similar scrutiny is a little silly. But at the same time, there is inherently nothing wrong with the idea of funding these media outlets. It would be the same as like CNN paying to have fucking I can't even think of can't even Sam Cedar, let's say, for instance, CNN paying Sam Cedar to do a weekend show or whatever, MSNBC paying Sam Cedar to do a weekend show, or Chris Hayes' weekend show or whatever. You pay them to put their content out onto your platform. Okay, that's fine. I think that's perfectly acceptable. But everybody knows who's signing Chris Hayes' paycheck, and people would know who would be signing Sam Cedar's paycheck. And you get the general idea of what CNN or MSNBC are about. And with respects to Daily Wire, you know what Daily Wire is about. They have funding to help them put out their message, much in the same way that CNN has investors and whatnot. Like, it's not necessarily secret, I guess. And I guess that's the big differentiating thing here, is that it's not really a secret. You could find out who's funding these things, and you have names like the Mercers and shit like that, who fund a lot of these operations on the right. On the left, you could, in this particular instance with 635, a 1630 fund or whatever, this is a dark money group, so you don't know who's funding. Like, nobody knows where this money's coming from. And it was specific, it sounds like, by virtue of the contract itself and the fact that none of these creators talked about any of this until they were forced to with this article. There was no disclosure of any of this on any point. Like, you could figure out who funds the Daily Wire if you really wanted to, but up until this expose, you can't say the same for any of these content creators who were involved in this. And given that we don't know, even after the expose, we still don't know where this money came from, because it's coming from like a pack, from a dark money pack. Like, it's a colossal level of I guess, I don't know what the word escapes my mind. Not corruption, and not necessarily grift either. That's another thing, is it's not like these creators were told what to say. These creators were chosen because they were already saying the thing that this group wanted them to say, right? Like, that's the whole manufacturer consent aspect of it. It's like, no, there isn't some top-down edict that says you must support XYZ. They find the people that already support XYZ and they say, I'm going to give you money. Just don't cross out of bounds here, but I'm going to give you money. Which is why, there's an open question. Why wasn't this content creator offered $8,000? Why wasn't this one? Why wasn't that one? It's because they don't fall in line with what the Democratic Party proper wants to communicate, right? And this is really, and I think the reason why this scandal really blew up is because it speaks to the beating heart of the problem with the Democratic Party, and that is, you know what? Actually, I think I posted somebody had a really great summation of this problem in response to abundance. Claudia Scheinbaum has been popping off lately because she's been doing a fucking incredible job in Mexico. And, I've said myself, like, what I'm looking for in a 2028 candidate is an American Claudia Scheinbaum. That's pretty much it. It's the long and short of it. And somebody posted in response to that, like, that meme. There's that meme, that old meme where it has like place, and it has the guy with the glasses, the meme guy with the glasses, just looking kind of like bored or bad or whatever. It says place, and it has like a picture of a tree and a mountain, and it says place, and then parentheses it says Japan, and it has him making like the wow face. Like, it's the same thing, but because Japan is attached, now it's magical. And they posted one about abundance because they're basically saying that Claudia Scheinbaum's success in Mexico is a function of abundance, the same abundance agenda that the left in America attacks. So they posted this abundance, and the guy's angry that abundance, parentheses Mexico, or Mexican it says, and then the guy's like excited and happy. But it's not a one-to-one, because Claudia Scheinbaum does not exhibit the abundance philosophy. She exhibits post-neoliberalism. And I posted, in response to this, the thesis of abundance isn't post-neoliberalism. It's the thesis of abundance is we fail because we have too much regulation and we need to let the corporate class cook. which is peak neoliberalism. And this is a excerpt from this article. I forget the article, but this is an excerpt from this article about what the actual Democratic Party problem is. Quote, "The Democrats do not have a young voter problem, nor do they have a Latino voter problem, a working class voter problem, or a male voter problem. The Democratic Party's poor performance with various demographics can be traced to an underlying cause. The Democrats have a Democrat problem. With exceptions, the party is composed of officials, staffers, pundits, donors, and politicians who do not believe in politics, at least not in the literal sense of the word. While most parties try to build support by turning their constituents' wishes into policies, the Democrats take the opposite approach. The political objective is determined by wealthy party and media insiders who then try to convince their constituents that the elite decreed platform is in their best interest. This was best illustrated in the concluding chapter of Abundance, which outlined a top-down political theory. The policies are decided by the donor class, and the job of Democratic-aligned media and politicians is to sell those policies to American voters." Quote, and this is a quote from from Abundance, the book Abundance by Derek Thomas and Ezra Klein. Quote, "It requires deep-pocketed donors and political action committees to invest in promising candidates over the long term, the establishment of think tanks and policy networks to turn political ideas into actionable programs, a rising political party able to consistently win over multiple electoral constituencies, a capacity to shape political opinion both at the highest levels, Supreme Court, and across popular print and broadcast media. A moral perspective able to inspire voters with visions of a good life. Political orders, in other words, are complex projects that require advances across a broad front." That quote from Abundance is literally top down. Like, we're not going to let our base dictate what our policies are. We're going to create our policies, and then we are going to manipulate our base into supporting the policies we want them to support. That's always been the problem with the Democratic Party. And this whole Wired article it speaks to that in general, but it speaks to it at the root of a new upcrop of generational talent, because they're targeting young influencers at a point in time when we are poised, whether the seniority of the party wants to admit it or not, we're poised to have a shift from an older generation to a younger generation. It just came out today that Jerry Nadler's not going to run for re-election. And his reasoning for not running for re-election is because he saw that, actually, instead of paraphrasing it, I'll just search for it and read it to you. Exclusive. Rep. Jerry Nadler, a New York Democrat who has been one of Congress's leading liberal voices for 3 decades, will not seek re-election next year, heeding a call for generational change roiling in his party. Quote, "Watching the Biden thing really said something about the necessity for generational change in the party, and I think I want to respect that." So yeah, Jerry Nadler, I think he's like 78 or some shit. He sees the writing on the wall. I think a lot of other people in the Democratic Party with some level of seniority or at least power and influence, they also see the writing on the wall. And what they want to do is they want to make sure that, because like this, Bernie Sanders got out ahead of this in 2016, and from 2016 to now, like damn near a decade, pretty much the major influence on the younger generations has, aside from on the left side, I mean, there's been right-wing influences, and we could talk about that too, that's already kind of manifest itself in this past election. A lot of that is even being rolled back. A lot of tremendous amounts of regret from young people who voted Republican these past 7 months. But on the left side, pretty much Bernie was given free rein to do whatever he wished with respects to courting younger voters, because the general idea amongst establishment Democratic thinking is fuck young voters. They don't vote. They don't vote. They don't vote for, so fuck them. We don't care. Yeah, Bernie, sure, go after all the young people you want. They'll never turn up for you. Except that's just not how time works. Eventually, young voters become older voters, right? And so ceding that to the progressive left for 10 years has put us in a position where when that generational shift happens, the party naturally will shift either a good deal to the left or very far to the left. Not as far as I would like, but by conventional American standards, very far to the left. And I think that this outfit, this chorus creator thing, incubator, funded by the 1635 or 1630 fund, I think that the whole purpose of this is to try to worm your way in to the as close as you can to the root of this, with young influencers who may be closer in alignment with traditional establishment democratic thinking, and try to influence the younger generations away from shifting so far to the left from where they're coming from when that generational change, when that generational shift happens. So when this was exposed, and a lot of people on the left were like, what the fuck? And then a lot of people who are part of this program are like, well, this is what we need to do. The real fight is about seeding the ideological tent pole for that generational shift. Nobody would have, like this wouldn't have popped off if, because like a lot of these creators are, I don't want to use the word controversial, but they're not like Olivia Juliana is controversial in the sense that she always seems to be getting attention for very little return. Like, what is she influencing? Like, what is her actual value as an influencer? There are many other progressives out there who are immeasurably more influential than she is. She only really seems to be a lightning rod for the left, honestly, because like she's not really any kind of kingmaker or queenmaker or anything like that amongst centrists, and Republicans don't know who she is. And if they ever saw a picture of her, they would just fucking trash her for being fat. So there's only like a very limited amount of like influence that I could see coming from her. But I guess she was one of the ones being paid $8,000 a month. And it's like, why this particular person rather than, we have a whole host of tremendous progressives who have seen their influence increase in recent. I mean, everybody on the left has seen their influence increase post Trump 2 inauguration. But we also see, like, with respects to the Israel situation, the general attitude of the public, both Democrats, independents, and even Republicans have shifted to being more in alignment with where progressives have been the past couple years than where centrists are. And that's a function of just people believing their lying eyes, I guess, when they see all this shit in the news about what's been going on over there. And yet, even though you have that kind of a movement broadly popular, again, amongst independents, Republicans, and Democrats, less so Republicans, but still there's some movement there. None of the influencers who were picked for this program have ever really expressed either pro-Palestinian sentiment or even just criticism of Israel's conduct. Like, none of these guys do that. So it's like, wait, why not invest in the people that are actually, have their finger on the pulse of the American zeitgeist? Because they don't want that. They want to control the American zeitgeist. They don't want to get their finger on the pulse of it and react to it. They want to control it. So that is, in my view, what's at the heart of this debacle with Taylor Lorenz's article. And I don't know how it'll shake out. Like, none of those influencers, in my view, are really impactful. The most prominent one was Brian Tyler Cohen, I guess his name is. I've seen a few of his videos pop up on my YouTube. He's got a big following. He's not bad. I mean, he's a liberal. He's a liberal, so warts where they are. He's not the worst in the world. He is, like everybody else in this contingent, silent on the Israel-Palestine situation, which is why he was chosen. But I mean, you have so many others. Majority Report. You have the I've Had It podcast. Like, how do you not fund two white wine moms from Oklahoma who look and speak directly to the one demographic that in the past election we were told was the most important demographic in the world, which is like the suburban moms, the disaffected Nikki Haley voters, right? Like, if it was important to speak to what you think that demographic is, you would think that the incredibly popular I've Had It podcast would be one of those entities that you would be funding, but they weren't mentioned in that, and neither were any of the other increasingly popular progressive messages out there. So it's maybe I should talk about this a little bit more on my stream. I should probably talk about it a little bit more on my stream, because there's a lot to like dive into with respects to who the group is, that article is phenomenal. Look it up. It's on Wired, Taylor Lorenz. The article itself is, oh man, I just had it up. What the fuck did I close? Oh, here it is. It is called "A Dark Money Group is Secretly Funding High-Profile Democratic Influencers." And again, okay, I think I say again, but I think I sidetracked myself before I made this general point. But I don't necessarily have a problem with funding left media online. I think that's a good thing, depending on how it's done, though. A dark money group, I'm not a big fan of. I can't say that I'm a big fan of a dark money group. And also, considering what the contract lays out for how these people are expected to, I guess, behave, I don't like the top-down control. I think it would be much better to organically see. And again, I gotta say this as, someone who is more on the left in these groups. Look who is organically performing, and just boost them. Just signal boost them. Don't try to control their content. Don't try to manufacture consent around a set of policies or anything like that. If they're already doing well on their own, then just signal boost them and offer them some infrastructural help. Like, they do say, like, hey, we can help you book congressmen or whatever, and that's great. Help with that. If there's any technical needs, help with technical needs, like, better cameras or a different soundboard that supports multiple lav mics so that you could do interviews better, or whatever the case might be. You could do stuff like that and just signal boost the people. If you want it to put them on a payroll, then build out a fucking, I guess that's kind of like what TYT was trying to do, right? It's hard to do that. It's hard to build a new news network or any kind of organization to support a news network, which is why I think just signal boosting a already crowdsourced operation that is proving to be organically popular is probably the better way to go. And it's certainly less sticky than this shit. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But hey, you know what? I ended up, for whatever reason, ranting about this for an hour and 20 minutes, which is a little bit longer than I like these podcasts to be. But I guess I had stuff to say after all. I always end up saying that. The start of every episode, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about. And then the end of every episode, I'm like, I guess I had stuff to talk about after all. So one day I'll learn my lesson, but it is getting a little late and I have to go and cook some steaks. So I'm going to say, take it easy for now. Hope I'll see you guys back here next week. Enjoy this upcoming week and keep an eye on the White House, y'all. These next couple of days could be historic.